the good guys of YouTube, the bad guys of YouTube in the Pokemon community. Oh my goodness. Hey guys, Haas with Haas Games and Cards, and I hope you're all doing awesome because you all deserve it. Hope you guys have had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Sorry if my voice is a little crappy and I try to clear myself every now and then. Definitely under the weather and watching some of my older videos around this time. I just seem to get sick around this time. It just sucks. It just sucks, but it is what it is. But what are we going to talk about today? Obviously, hope you guys had a good turkey day. But on top of that, YouTube's just a very interesting place, especially when it comes to content creation, and I'm guilty of it too. I'm always clickbaiting and all that fun stuff, but it's just part of the game, right? Rage baiting, clickbaiting, all that crap. But a common thing that a lot of content creators are doing right now is they're just like picking on each other. They pick on each other, call each other out, and are always like really picking apart the rights and wrongs of what everybody does. And not saying what is addressed in this video that we're going to talk about is right or wrong. But I always like to look into a situation, play devil's advocate, and kind of just talk about it, make people think. Because the thing is, there's two sides to every coin. There's the consumer, there's the store owner, right? There's a good market, there's a bad market. And, to the consumer, when prices are low, great market for them. They love it. When prices are high, stores are like, sweet. But are they? Are they like sweet? And of course, I am an online store. I started my store around Obsidian Flames, around that time period. I have distribution, even though I'm just an online website. I had to work hard to get it, but distribution was possible back then. I don't imagine what it's like, or I wouldn't even try to imagine what it's like to try to get it now, especially with how little allocations are. But we're going to kind of talk about a couple different things. And, one thing that's really hit upon in some of these videos is, the greed aspect of things. We're going to talk about, pricing and markets, stuff like that. And kind of take a look at some parallels. And then you make your own conclusion. I don't know. And I'll be straightforward. I'm happy in any market. And to be honest, the market that I like better is back or when things are cheap. And why is that? Because I can buy things from other people for cheap, even cheaper than the distro pricing that was around back then. But also distro actually had stuff. Distribution would actually have things, and I would be able to get cases of whatever I wanted anytime, right? And we'll kind of dive into that too here in a minute. How things were back then versus how they are now. And the sentiment between customers and stores and kind of how it all goes from there. But today we have a video from Broke Pokemon. I don't want to assume what his career is. Looks like he's a truck driver. And just so you all know, my Pokemon business is not my full-time career. I have a very insane career that I do for my day job. I feel like if I didn't have a career, I'd probably have a lot more time to actually refine my content creation, make things better, get better programs, hardware, have more time to actually dedicate to it for sure. This is definitely just kind of like a little fun side thing. The YouTube thing I never expect to do well, but if you have been liking the videos, please like and subscribe. Please do. It helps. Every little subscription adds up in the long term, right? But we have a new up-and-comer content creator. And like I said, I don't want to assume his full-time career, but it looks like he drives, truck, whatever it is. I don't know. I'd assume trucks. And then talks about greedy stores and greedy practices and current market prices. And, he's very unhappy about it. And a lot of people are unhappy about it. And I get it. I agree. I'm unhappy with it too because I like buying things for cheap. As far as what I do, of course, I have my day career, but I also like to have a sealed collection that I do invest in. And the way I get it done is I sell Pokemon. I sell Pokemon to pay off what I keep. And the point of that is Pokemon's not my only asset. Of course, you got your 401ks, crypto, all that stuff, property. I just kind of put stuff into everything, but Pokemon is like my fun investment, if that makes sense. But eventually, and already, it has gained some really good value since I started doing all this. And in my opinion, it's the best way to invest and get into Pokemon. And it's just interesting to see people's takes. They're a hardworking person. Like I'm a very hardworking person. It's a lot to juggle the daytime career, the Pokemon business, the family, all that stuff. And I'm sure he has the same exact struggles, but it's interesting to take a look because he's more on the consuming standpoint. I'm more on the business standpoint. So we're going to listen to a few clips. And actually, ironically, the main message of this video is kind of like hypocritical views and practices. It had something to do with Kyra being okay with Cool Trainer Ryan's ripping ships, but her not being okay with what's the name, Nostalgianomics, not being okay with his ripping ships, which is kind of a double standard for sure. I'd agree with that. And it's all just because you don't like Nostalgianomics, or maybe you don't like Nostalgianomics on camera because it makes good YouTube views and builds viewership. And one thing that I noticed from the consumer content side of things is they definitely love to play Kumbaya with their community, and they're all about, I don't know, just things getting cheaper. And obviously, I think everybody wants things to be cheaper and more available. It makes life so much easier. I'd rather sell a ton of stuff so I can also keep a ton of stuff and just do big bulk sales like I used to do. Profit margins were much smaller back then. It was like $15 on whatever, on a booster box. The other products were much lower margins, but let's say booster box is like a $15 margin because you weren't getting MSRP. You'd have to sell it under MSRP because every store had product, and that's really all you could do. But I liked doing big bulk case sales because then eventually I'd pay off the cases that I have. It was great. Now, it's like you get a few cases, they've upped the distro price on them, and then, I don't know, then you just can't get any more. After that, it's just done. So you get a lot less. But let's take a look. So the first couple clips, we're going to be talking about a few things. And sorry, some of these clips will be a little long-winded. I'll try to break it up when it's relevant to, but I don't want to try to take things out of context. I want to pull some ideas out, which I don't think, like I said, the main premise of the video was to point out some hypocritical stuff, right? Where the information I'm pulling out is actually a completely different subject and a completely different thing that I'm going to try to get you guys to kind of think about. Just to try to get you guys to think about it a little bit and spin out a different perspective and see what you guys think. Because I don't know. I don't have the same struggles that a lot of these online businesses do. I'm very happy with whatever I do get. And I'm the bad store. I definitely don't charge MSRP, but I also don't charge market. I'm like kind of in the middle. I try to pick a price to where if the market does crash down, it will still be at or like right at where it should crash down to, if that makes sense. So I'm not perfect either, but I have to make stuff work. There's a lot of math, and so you have to make stuff work. But I'm definitely the bad guy store. This guy would not like me, that's for sure, and I'm okay with that, because everybody views things different. But we're actually going to be touching more on the greed side of things and some of the distro points he makes. But let's take a look here.
Because he has distribution that he can have a
Oops.
lower pack price. I know he does rip and ships for MSRP when sets first come out. That is a great thing. Obviously, Nostalgianomics does not do that. So there are differences in the people. I'm not comparing CTR and Nostalgianomics, saying that they're the same.
So pretty much he's talking about Cool Trainer Ryan and Nostalgianomics. They both have distro, and they both do rip and ships. And from what I understand, I don't know Cool Trainer Ryan or Nostalgianomics very well, but that's the kind of their full-time thing, right? They make content, they make money from content, and they do rip and ships to help pay for some of the content, some of the business part of their things, and investments too, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure even Pokémon does, sets aside some product, or I'm sure, what's the big one? I should know the big content creators. Ah, man. The biggest guy that everyone loves. That's not Leonhardt. That name will not come to me. I'm fried. I'm so like congested I can't even think. But even like the biggest content creators, I'm sure, they rip a ton of expensive stuff. Some of them do pack rips. They're like, oh, I opened up every pack from every set in this video, from every era, which would be very expensive. But when you're getting tons of content viewership and subscriptions, and also getting subscribers and things like that, and you have your discords and you have your memberships and stuff like that, of course that helps pay for all the stuff that you put into your videos. It makes sense. That's your full-time job. And like I was saying, Nostalgianomics, Cool Trainer Ryan, that's their full-time gig, right? And so they have to make ends meet. They have to make things work. It's all based off of their performance. Where Broke and we both have full-time careers while balancing this. And it's like, well, our YouTube channels and what goes into it could probably be better if we didn't have our full-time careers, but we have this safety net. We have a safety net of our career, right? And so I think the dynamic is a little different. But let's take a look. I think this one's a little bit longer winded, but let's listen to it and extrapolate a few things.
He does giveaways. Nobody is saying that that's not a great thing. However, from all the information that I have been able to find, from all the information from talking to my LGSs, from listening to Danny Phantom, Nostalgianomics, everybody on Wave 1 gets all their product at wholesale prices. Whether that's $90, $100.
So there's a big difference between distribution prices and wholesale prices. So back when I first started, and I didn't have reliable distribution, because when you first get distribution, most of them say, hey, cool, you have your LLC. Nice. If you want to be getting, or if you want to get allocations, you have to spend at least like $5 or $6 grand in like a 4 to 6 month period, right? And so there's distro pricing, but to kind of bridge the gap on products, since I couldn't really be able to get that, and this is back when things weren't selling out as quick. You'd have local stores that have way too much product not moving, and they need to pay their bills. You could take your LLC to them and do some tax stuff, fill out some forms, and they can wholesale to you. And so if you make friends with some of these stores, you'd be able to get them to wholesale. But of course, they need to make something out of it. So it'd be above distro pricing, probably right below market at that time, which market would be low on everything, or sometimes even better than distro pricing. So you'd have your wholesale cost and your distro cost. And I remember when Surging Sparks first came out, I had to fulfill a lot of my orders through wholesale instead of distro. And it definitely was a lot more expensive. I made like pretty much nothing on Surging Sparks when that first came out. So big difference there. But we're talking about distribution and Wave 1. We'll pick up on that point in just a second.
$110, $120. Who knows? If that is incorrect information, I would like for one of these people to tell me otherwise. But from what I understand, everybody gets everything at wholesale prices for the first wave. See,
So wholesale pricing, and I'm not going to say which distro does what, but I would say most booster boxes on initial waves of Pokemon are probably about 105 to 110. Back when things were easy to get, and probably back during the beginning of Surging Sparks, the first wave of allocated product would probably be about 85 to 95 bucks. For me, it was about 95 bucks because I'm new and I'm small fish. So, yeah. And the allocation waves back then, I'd be able to kind of order up whatever I wanted still. I'd be like, hey, this is how much I want. And I'd usually be able to get it. But after Surging Sparks, that all died. That completely went away. And they went to allocations. They're just like, here's the number you will get. That's it. And nothing else. We'll dive into that a little bit deeper. But one thing to think about, because he is really hitting hard on Cool Trainer Ryan and Nostalgianomics. I don't know Cool Trainer Ryan's situation. He's been doing this for a long time, right? Nostalgianomics, I got distribution before he did. It was just everyone watches Nostalgianomics, so everyone knew about that. And they made a big deal about it. They're like, oh my gosh, I have distribution. And, when I got that lockdown, it was just whatever. But let's finish this clip.
CTR in his private Discord group has charged for Mega, for Phantasmal Flames, for the Charizard UPC. He has charged either market or slightly below market to his Discord group. Now, obviously, he is not forcing people to do that. People are making their own decisions upon that, to buy or not to buy. I personally feel like you already have so much support. You have such a big community of people, of an audience. They show up to your videos. You get hundreds of thousands of views. You have your rip and ship where people are paying for your packs day in, day out. They're giving you super chats or donations of various amounts of money every single day. And you're getting your product at distro. I feel like the least you can do when you say that you greatly appreciate your community and greatly appreciate all people that support you, especially with it being in a private Discord group, I feel like you should be offering product at a much cheaper price.
Okay. So, talking about a couple different things to pick from here. He's like, hey, you get content views, you get super chats, you have your private Discords, and you're having people pay just below market, right? And I think earlier in the video, I don't know if we listened to that part or not, but we definitely talked about, I think he talked about how on the first wave, Cool Trainer Ryan has people pay MSRP, right, for the first wave or something like that. And then he talks about how after the first wave, that they then go closer to market price. So, the fact if they are doing MSRP on the first wave, good for them. They have, like he says, the support to do that. That's pretty cool, especially with what they make. They could still be greedy and milk out that first wave, but they have all that additional support, and they have opted to do, and I don't know if Nostalgianomic does, but I think just for Cool Trainer Ryan, opted to do MSRP on the first wave. And then after that, they charge more. And I think this is where a little disconnect comes through. Because one thing you have to remember, like I was saying, I don't know about Cool Trainer Ryan, but let's talk about Nostalgianomics. Especially since he doesn't have as big a viewership. His rip and ships probably don't do as well as Cool Trainer Ryan. Cool Trainer Ryan, I know, does rip and ships like all day, every day. That's how he makes his money, and Nostalgianomics is probably trying to do the same thing, but on a smaller scale. The first wave of Phantasmal Flames booster box cases that I got, I only got 3 booster box cases. That was it. Wave 2 has not come in yet. So when I posted my Wave 1 booster boxes for sale on my website for pre-order, they sold out in an hour. Okay. And he's talking about, oh yeah, you know what? Cool that they do it for the first wave, but for the following waves, they completely just up the price. Here's the problem with that. Wave 2 hasn't come yet, and it probably won't come till late December or possibly after. I don't know. Distro does not tell you when Wave 2 is coming. They just say it will come some point. We expect 3 or way more weeks. So Wave 2 hasn't even happened yet. But these guys are doing very consistent rip and ships. So if my stuff sells out in an hour and I'm a nobody, I'm not even known, that would tell me that Nostalgianomics and Cool Trainer Ryan, their first wave would sell out so fast. And I probably get more than Nostalgianomics does, because he got distro when it was hard to get distro. So I doubt he even gets that much. But what I have seen Nostalgianomics do is he makes posts saying, hey, I will buy you packs from the community and booster boxes at a rate slightly below market, and then I'm going to go through and serve them on my rip and ship. And of course he's going to have to price it closer to market. He's not getting those boxes from distro. And Cool Trainer Ryan, with how quick he rips packs, his wave 1 of distro would have vanished probably within a day. And so it's just very interesting because he's just like waves and waves and waves. It's like there's not lots of waves, and wave 2 is going to be about a little bit less than wave 1 as far as quantity. So you have to remember, to bridge the gap until they get their second wave, they have to get packs somehow, which means they're paying much closer to market because they have to buy them from other people. They're willing to do it a % off of market, and then they are flipping them on their rip and ships. And I don't know if they're just doing the rip and ships on YouTube, because if not, if they're doing it on like Whatnot or something, then they got to pay commission too. But I think they just do it on YouTube, so probably not much of a cut into their profits. But he talks about, oh, if you're only getting them for $110 a box, let's say, and you're not willing to just take that $60 margin, and now you're doing things all close to market, it's like, well, after their wave 1, they're probably not even getting, I don't know, they're probably ranging about $20-$30 profit on a booster box amount of packs. So one thing to think about. But let's see if there's anything else to make out of this portion.
I don't think you should be charging $275 for Phantasmal Flames. I don't think you should be charging $225 for the Charizard EX UPC that just came out. Even if you wanted to charge, let's say that $170 wasn't enough, a $60 profit off of whatever you were allocated for your first wave. If $60 times that isn't enough, then charge them $200 or charge $210. You're still under market, and you're still making a really good amount of money. And I don't get why
you're making a good amount of money if you have a lot of product. You will not make a good amount of money if if you're only getting 3 cases. And I bet Nostalgianomics probably doesn't get even 3 cases unless his distro just really loves them, which I doubt. It just doesn't happen like that. So that's an interesting take. But again, their wave 1s probably went out instantly, and they have to buy stuff closer to market and then flip it. So, and again, back to my original point, they don't have the safety net of having full-time careers like you and I. They base all their stuff, like you said, off their content creation, their rip and ships, the super chats. And so, especially for Nostalgianomics, since he's a much smaller Cool Trainer Ryan, in a way, and has to make ends meet, you have to remember that's his full-time career. And so, if you know, and we'll talk about certain other aspects here in a second that are aside from Pokemon. But let's see if there's some to extrapolate here.
And I don't get why he's not doing that. It just seems again like greed is just such a powerful thing in this community right now. Take the giveaways, don't take the giveaways. It really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I just don't agree with it. I think that he could be doing so much better for the community that he says that he loves and he cares about. I'm not saying that he doesn't. I was in the same situation and was blessed as well as he is. I understand he's done a lot of work to get to where he is. I'm not discrediting that whatsoever. But I feel like I would be doing more for my community to try to get the product at a much more affordable price than charging market or slightly below market.
So it's very interesting. I see this a lot with, especially with newer content creators, right? They will talk about how they will come in as a valiant knight and do things cheaper and do better for the community, let's say. And a lot of people say that without knowing what is really done in the community with these other content creators. Now, I don't know a ton about Cool Trainer Ryan. I don't know a ton about Nostalgianomics. I don't think Nostalgianomics does anything. Cool Trainer Ryan, though, from what I've read in comments and some other stuff, is he gives away stuff that's worth quite a bit of money. And even Team Rocket Joey, he doesn't do rip and ships, but I think I was with family. I didn't get to watch his stream, but he did a huge like giveaway stream as far as I know today. Like I know it was scheduled to happen. So, I'd say there are some that are really about their communities and they really do give back. Like giving away 151 packs, if he really gave away that booster box amount of 151 packs and then the crazy things he has signed up for December, like, wow, it's a lot of money. And he's not even as big of a channel as some of these other creators. And so, Cool Trainer Ryan, I mean, if he's giving away some expensive stuff, I don't know. I don't know if I'd call it greedy, especially if you're buying stuff from people almost at market to flip it at market. I don't know. But it's their career. It's their livelihood, and it's how they make ends meet, because they don't do a day-to-day like we do, you know? And are they being more fortunate from it? Are they making a lot more money right now? For sure. But what happens in slow times and down times, especially with Pokemon, their life could get derailed very quickly where we have that safety net, but because we picked to do a 9 to 5, we do not have financial freedom. We do not have that safety net. And that's why I've started to look a lot more into assets, not only just Pokemon, but everything else. And here's a way to look at it too. Here's one way to think about it. And like I said, I don't know who's right, who's wrong. It just kind of got me thinking today because I was like, I'm really lucky. I do have my career. I do have my Pokemon side business, which doesn't make me money, but it will in the future because it pays for my Pokemon investments. So I'm not in debt over them, which I feel very fortunate for. And so I can keep working my career, retire. If my YouTube channel ever gets monetized, that'll help me add more into my investments, whether it's Pokemon, crypto, whatever it is, right? Or just making my life better for my family in general. I don't think my YouTube will ever get to that point, but this is their full-time career, and this is how they make things work. And they get such hassle and demonization about it, but I don't think the full picture is really being looked at as far as this is what they need to do to survive. Kind of like how we do what we need to do to survive. And looking at it, I mean, it's just interesting. We have to go back in time. We have to look at some time periods here. And I guess before we go back in time, let me spin a situation. And you guys let me know in the comments what you think. So you're driving your truck. Let's say your employer said, you know what? Inflation over the last 5 years has been kicking our ass. They're about to print money. Things are about to inflate more. Stuff's just getting expensive and unattainable. You know what? I need you to take several $1,000s off a month from what we pay you right now to help survive our company. And then everywhere else you go offers you less than what that pay cut is. But then things still inflate and you still got to make things work, right? So would you take that pay cut? Would you be okay with it? Would you be happy or unhappy with it? And the way I'd spin that into their Pokemon businesses is, while you can't get more product at distro for a decent price, and you're trying to make things ends meet, and people are willing to pay a market price, because one thing that a lot of people are getting mad about is they're getting mad at rip and ships, they're getting mad at stores about what the current market price is, right? But here's the thing. Those loud people that are voicing their opinions and being very angry about the price are the ones that aren't really buying the stuff right now anyways. They're not. I have a lot of friends that will only buy things from like Walmart because they know they'll get it from MSRP. But that also means they almost never get product. And so, again, like, it's just interesting because they're still having to pay more expensive prices to then reflip it, not at distro or even wholesale prices. They don't even get it at a wholesale price. And that's how they have to make it work. Why, for the 3 booster box cases they get, would they take a pay cut, if that makes sense? If people are willing to pay that, and it, like I said, the people that aren't willing to pay it, I think, are the loudest, where the people that are willing to pay it are quiet, and they just do it. Like, when I put stuff on my website, it's people, I have no idea who they are. I have no freaking clue. And I know it's not my friends I have. I know it's not my acquaintances that I have. I know it's just like random people that are like, I got money. Here we go. And I would say the ones funding the current Pokemon market are the ones that are buying into rip and ships, the ones that are buying from stores that aren't selling at MSRP. And a lot of that has to do with availability. But Pokemon has kind of become, and I hate to compare it to this, almost in a way with how social it is now, online, on YouTube, on Rip and Ships. It's almost like an OnlyFans account in a way. It's gotten to the point to where not only are you paying for Pokemon, but you're paying for the personality behind it too. And this isn't exclusive to Pokemon. If you go watch, go onto YouTube and look at stake streamers. Stake is a gambling website, and it's very interesting because you can tell a lot of the streamers, they don't work. And what happens is their viewership. I saw one streamer get $10,000 from one of their viewers, right? And he flipped into 20. His audience was like, please just take it. Just pull it in. Cash out, right? And then he almost lost it all, flipped it into 40. His viewership again is like, please just take it back, just take it in. And then he got it up to 80, then he lost everything, right? But it's like you literally have people that are supporting you by not only buying the product, but they are doing those super chats. They're giving you the views, their time of day, and all that, and they're choosing to do it. And I think the problem is it's people like this are funding the market, and the people that are being very loud and hateful about the market, which is fine, because like I said, I'm happy with any market. I like the cheaper market better, in my opinion. That's where I have a lot of fun with business and a lot more hustle too. I love it. But I feel like they're also not the ones funding the market. They're not keeping it propped up. But there are a lot of people that have money that are willing to keep it propped up like this. And there's just some things, some assets, and some stuff that just do not die. And the ironic thing is you don't hear anything about it, right? And so, since it's almost like OnlyFans, I mean, these people are making money in their ripping ships, their streams, their viewership, their super chats, their discords, whatever. They're making tons of money. But that people are supporting it. And until that stops, things are going to be interesting, in my opinion. But on the flip side, too, people did not want to buy Pokemon or care about Pokemon back when it was cheap. When Pokemon was cheap, nobody cared about it. And nobody would buy it, and nobody would buy cases. And I have proof of this. 2024 November, almost, on the 21st, I uploaded a video, and this is when Surging Sparks came out, and things were starting to get harder to get at distro. Market prices on things hadn't skyrocketed yet, but things were getting harder to get at distro, and it got to the point to where some of the items were very available, like Scarlet and Violet, and Obsidian Flames, but all of a sudden, Paldea Evolved was like, hey, we're going to limit how many booster box cases you can get. Temporal Forces, same thing. Paradox Rift, same thing. And Twilight Masquerade, but I think it was gone by the time I made this video. I had a previous video where I'm like, it's starting to get limited. I think that's going to go away. Look at this. And I wish I could buy cases at this price right now. But we had cases at like $620, $825, $779, $740, $635. And I made a video saying, Pokemon investments you can still do, but not for long. Markets are rising, stocks will be gone. And I called people out in this video. I said, you know what? I can guarantee that nobody will take advantage of these prices. And when they're gone, people are going to be like, they're not going to be happy. They're going to be like, whoa, can I do this? And I'm just going to be like, no, you can't. And ironically, nobody online bought into it. They were all like, hey, not doing it. Not buying this. It's so available. It's so easy. And now look where we're at. In fact, let's take a look. $825 I had for a case of Paldea Evolved back then. Let's see. Paldea Evolved Booster Box Case. Where are we at now with those? Ooh, $2,600 median price. Holy crap. So way more than doubled. There was a point in time where you could have gotten a case from me and way more than doubled. So nobody bought it back then. I had some people local to my state buy it, but nobody cared. And kind of to jump back into the viewership, the people that are loudest about the market right now and not happy with it, we're not buying during these good times either. They did not buy during this time. They're just like, meh, it's not worth anything. Why would I want it? And going back to my friends and acquaintances I know that only buy from Walmart because they can get it from MSRP, but that means they never get product. They're always unhappy because they never have product. But when they do, and they rip the chase card, like they rip the Mewtwo, all of a sudden they're saying, I want market price for this Mewtwo. I 100% want market price for this Mewtwo. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. So you got your product at MSRP, but you want the inflated market price value of your single. Weird. But that's greedy. That's greedy, right? And what was interesting during this time is I was selling under market because I don't have a physical store, so I could sell under market. I'm still selling under market. And like I was saying, I was maybe only making $15 profit on a case of booster boxes, on a whole case. That's nothing. I'd have to sell so many cases to pay off the cases I kept. And just nobody cared. But now it's not like that and people aren't happy. Super interesting. Super interesting people's mindset for sure. For sure. Terrestrial Festival, $57 a box. That was a beautiful time. That was a very beautiful time. And cases of Japanese booster boxes only being $6.45. I don't even want to say how much I just spent on Mega Dream Japanese. I spent so much money on Mega Dream Japanese. It's disgusting. I used to buy so many cases, and now I have to buy fewer cases for a higher price, and still the profit margin doesn't make up for what I could do back when it was cheap, because everybody could have a good opportunity. But here's the other flip side too. Let's say your investments in Pokemon, you do have some sealed stuff, that tanks. Then does that mean the people that complain about the current market price are also going to complain when their stuff's not worth anything? Some food for thought. I don't know. One thing I do know is when Bitcoin hit 125,000 this year, and this isn't Pokemon obviously, but when it hit 125,000, I didn't hear people complaining about that. People were just like, sweet, things are looking good. But once it dipped down to 84,000, people were complaining about it. And it's like, if you liked Bitcoin at 123,000 and you were buying in at this period, shouldn't you like it at 84? And now it's starting to rebound. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. I don't know. I'm not a Bitcoin expert, but it'll be interesting to see if it can make it back or not. I'm sure it will. I mean, if we look at its inceptions here, it's always had big peaks. It has huge dips and then peaks up again. But we're not a Bitcoin channel. I'm not even going to dive into that. But car prices, especially like exclusive cars, right? You don't really hear people being like, oh my gosh, for a long range Cybertruck, I have to pay $80,000, $114,000 for the big one. But MSRP on these, back when I could pre-order them, was $69,000. But now I have to pay more money for a brand new one. How come I can't get it for MSRP? It's like, well, kind of same concept, but you don't hear people complaining about that. Same with stocks, S&P. They climb up forever, and you don't hear people being like, man, I really hate that it's at $6,800 right now. You know, and I get it. Pokemon's different. This is a bad parallel to draw. But again, it's just interesting because things that have value, most people don't complain about it when it's doing good. And Pokemon's different. There's kids involved and people want to rip stuff and just want to have a good time. 100% get that. I know this isn't comparable. It just the mindset slightly is. House prices. Now, this is something that people will complain about, but it's interesting because if you don't have a house, you're complaining about it. If you do have a house, you love the boosts in house prices that have been happening. So in Utah, median house price is $530,000 for just your basic run-of-the-mill poopy house. And I remember back when I bought my first house, I bought a condo. It would have been, oh man, that's a minute ago. Probably would have been around 2015, 2016. Bought a condo for $100,000. A few years later, sell it for $200,000. And then buy and build my first house for $410,000. And then my latest house, after I sold that last house, was like $840,000 to build. And during all that time, the prices kept adjusting. They kept going up, kept changing. I made sells and upgrades, before huge spikes. So that way I got some good benefit from the equity I'd gain and still be able to build something a little bit cheaper. And then it shoots up in value after it's built, right? But what was interesting, back all the way down to my condo days, people were complaining about prices. And then nowadays, they're still complaining about prices. I complain about house prices. They're crazy. They're so stupid. Way too expensive. But it's interesting because it seems like the people that do not have these things are the people that don't take. Either they're just not. I don't know what a good. I don't have a good reason, but it just seems like there's some people that don't take advantage of opportunities, and you have to. You have to get ahead, and you have to work hard. And that's the thing about these streamers or YouTube content creators. They have worked very hard to get to where they're at. They have set up something that gains money. They have to adapt to how things change over time. And they're making the current market work for them. And that means they're having to buy a lot of stuff well above wholesale or distro to make it work. And their profit margins are probably smaller than what you think on the actual product. I think they make most of their money off of views and kind of having some fans that almost kind of like OF simps. So just some food for thought. Let me know what you think in the comments. We had some stuff that kind of related, some unrelated, just some food for thought. I don't know. I'm not a big creator. I just work my ass off, and then this is my way of trying to get a sealed investment without getting in debt. So I just think having a Pokemon business is the best way to do that. I also don't make money off my Pokemon business. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Again, happy Turkey Day. I hope you all have a good night. Be safe. Don't do anything crazy.